The BBC has announced that by April next year it wants all of its news programmes to have an equal number of men and women appearing on them. The project is called 50-50, and the idea that it shows, including this one, monitor the number of men and women they have on them, with the aim of improving the gender split. So let's discuss the issues behind this and whether this sort of project is needed at all. And with me is Sophie Jarvis here in the studio, Research Associate at the Adam Smith Institute and Head of the Female Founders Forum. And we can also talk to Ed Young, who is a reporter for The Atlantic and spent 2 years trying to fix the gender balance in his stories. Hello to both of you. Thank you very much for coming on. First of all, Sophie, you're not very keen on this, I know, at all.
No.
Why?
I think it has good intentions. I think it has the intentions of female empowerment, but I actually think it would actually have the opposite effect. So as a woman who goes on TV, I want to be asked on because I'm articulate, not because I'm a woman. And I think this will skew that.
Right. And Ed, you have spent a lot of time trying to make the people that you have in your articles, to make them 50-50 in terms of gender. Why did you want to do that?
I think it's really important. I work at the intersection of two industries, the media and science, where women's contributions are often underrepresented and overlooked, and that's not a world I want to live in. I want to shoot for parity where I can. And I think it's important as a journalist to give more voice to female sources who might often be overlooked in my stories.
Why do you think they're being overlooked in the first place, by yourself originally and others?
I think there's many potential reasons for this. I think this is a trend that exists across the media. Wherever people have looked, there tend to be about 3 male voices for every 1 female one. And there's not because there's any shortage of excellent female contributors. Whenever I actually make the effort to try and find more women to include in my stories, there's always plenty, and there's plenty who I didn't know about and who have really interesting things to say. So I think it's our fault. I think we are falling prey to implicit biases that we all are subject to, and I think it's causing this skew, which is problematic.
Do you accept that there is a problem, Sophie? You hear him talking there about people being overlooked and a bias, whether it's conscious or unconscious. Do you accept that there is a problem?
I think there obviously is an inequality. It's not equal, but I firmly believe in equality of opportunity, not equality of outcome.
But how should you address the inequality? If you accept that there is one, how do you stop there from being one? You can't just hope that it goes away.
No, so I think you do have to do something. So the BBC actually have something called Expert Woman, which is where they sort of train women up to go on the media. And I think that's a great idea. So you sort of give women the skills, but I don't believe in an artificial quota, sort of saying you have to have X amount of women discussing current affairs. Because I think preferences also come into it, because maybe women don't actually want to be discussing that, in the same way that men wouldn't want to be discussing certain topics. So I think preferences are important, and we should bear that in mind.
Are there any topics you think that can't be gender balanced?
Absolutely not. I cover a whole range of different sciences, and in every field that I look at, I can always find extremely qualified women to talk about what the topic in question. It's not that those sources don't exist, and it's not that I'm artificially trying to find people who are underqualified. I'm only ever asking people who have strong expertise in the areas that I'm trying to cover. It's just that at the moment, half of those people happen to be women, which was not the case before I started tracking these numbers in my own stories.
But now that you've admitted that you're doing it, what do you say to Sophie, who says she doesn't want to be asked on because she's a woman? What about the people who contribute to your work? Might they feel that they've only been asked on because of their gender?
Look, I respect what Sophie is saying, but I will say that I have never asked someone to offer a comment and to act as a source of my stories because they're a woman. I ask them because they have expertise to share. And in addition to that, I'm aiming for an equal gender split in those sources.
Do you think, Sophie, that the way that people are being chosen to appear in articles or on news programmes, do you think that it is currently a meritocracy?
I would say so, yes, from my personal experience.
So why do you think there is this imbalance then?
I think it's got something to do with the fact that women don't typically put themselves forward as much. So what Ed is doing, I don't actually...
So it's their fault.
Well, what Ed's doing, I don't actually wholeheartedly disagree with. What I really disagree with is this idea that the BBC's come out with, saying that they have to have half men, half women on their programmes, on their current affairs. And so I disagree with sort of very strict quotas. I don't necessarily disagree with Ed maybe spending, as you said in your very good article, sort of 15 extra minutes trying to find alternative voices, because I think having a diverse panel is really interesting. It makes much better TV. So I'm not sort of saying that journalists and producers shouldn't go out of their way to maybe find a different voice, but I don't think that voice should always sort of be typified by their gender.
Okay, well, thank you very much both of you for coming on. Ed Young and Sophie Jarvis, thank you.